Hey, beloveds! I am so delighted to be coming to you today. I have woken up, well, actually, it was the day before yesterday. I woke up in the morning, and you know, when you're having a dream, and in the dream, you're able to make the meaning out of the dream. So, just at that moment before I woke up, even though I now couldn't tell you what happened in the dream, the meaning of the dream stayed with me. And they're my favorite kinds of dreams, of course. It's a little bit like lucid dreaming. It's where we're actually beginning to sorry, my voice is a little bit funny because yesterday I was in the studio recording the Spiritually Fierce book for 4 hours. So I've noticed today my voice is a little bit tired, but I'm going to do my best because this is so exciting. So here I was having this lucid dreaming moment at the point of awakening, and I really want to share with you what it is that I accessed or came to understand in those moments just before my full consciousness returned, just as I was awakening, and being able to make sense of really something that I think we can get so confused about. And that's the idea of, well, there's two things I want to talk about: spiritual activism and what sacred service actually is. And you will notice that if you saw me posting for this, I mentioned the idea that why your modality doesn't actually matter. Now, of course, in the scheme of things, when we've trained for something, when we've paid money for a program, when we've learned a particular way of working with energy or the subtle anatomy or whatever it is that you have signed up for, hearing me say that that doesn't matter and that your modality is irrelevant could be a little bit confronting. So I want to break that down for you. And I want to go back into the idea of how this connects to what sacred service really is. And all of this, of course, leads me to the real kicker, which is what is spiritual activism, according to me. Now, if you follow the world, if you're in the world and you follow the world, you'll know that there is a conversation happening at this point in time, which is about the idea of not using our spirituality as a way to bypass the world that we live in, but actually, how do we become socially responsible? How do we become politically responsible? How do we use our spiritual awakening, not just for the benefit of ourself and not just to make our own little patch of reality nice and pretty, but how do we please excuse this. As I said, if you weren't here before, this is just because I was in the recording studio recording Spiritually Fierce yesterday, so my voice is a little bit tired. How do we make sure that our spirituality is in fact of service to all? And this is where the idea of spiritual activism comes in. This idea that if we have had the privilege to be able to pursue our soul, then it is our absolute responsibility, in my opinion, that we take our increasing awakening, our awareness out into the world, and we do what we can to make the world more glorious. We do what we can to ease the suffering of others. But unlike, say, a political or socially motivated program of change, for me, spiritual activism is about making a choice to remember that you are God. So as I awoke from my dream, this is where this all started. As I awoke from my dream and I could recall not the details of the dream, but the deeper meaning of it, I understood that, and I wrote notes to myself because I was so excited. And of course, if you don't write things down, you forget them. Spiritual activism, in my opinion, is being God. It is embodying your God consciousness. It's not accepting your limitations. It's not hiding behind your story of being a victim of your reality. If you are free enough to pursue the soul and to go in the direction of your spiritual awakening, then you are free enough to make the world better for others. And the beautiful thing about this is it actually requires nothing of you. It doesn't actually require you to change your job. It doesn't require you to turn up on a picket line. It doesn't require you to travel anywhere. All that is asked of you is that you do not let your spiritual seeking end at the point where you're just like, how do I manifest some nice shit for myself? But actually look at the great responsibility that you have in pursuit of your soul. If you are in pursuit of your soul, you have the responsibility to look about you and to see how you may be the cause of the return to love for others, how you may be the cause of the end of suffering for others. How may you use your spiritual seeking not as a way just to get things for yourself, but actually as a way to give on a truly global scale. Because here's the beautiful thing about spiritual activism. Unlike activism that happens in the dream or in 3D reality, our power to change the world is entirely dependent on our capacity to hold an altered vibration. And what that requires us to do is to meet our own fear. So rather than to sit inside our own limits, our own fear limits, every time fear rises and you go to meet your fear, you do it on behalf of all. Every time your fear rises and you indulge in emotional chaos or emotional eating or picking a fight with your boyfriend or, getting drunk, instead of dealing with what you're feeling, you are continuing to oppress human consciousness collectively. Now, you may not want to deal with that responsibility, but that is the truth of it. It is all is one. It's the first Hermetic law. There is no way around that. So the most powerful form of spiritual activism, the only form of spiritual activism, is indeed to go and meet your own fear. And this is what service is. Sacred service may take many different forms. As I said before, your modality actually doesn't matter, because what sacred service actually is, what you're actually doing when you serve, is from this place, from this paradigm of remembering that I am God and that when I go to meet my fear, I'm serving all fearlessness everywhere, is that whatever you do is an act of service. Whatever you do is an act of service. Okay, so please put down your concern or your confusion that you might get it wrong. You literally can't get it wrong. And I was talking to someone I admire very deeply this weekend, and she was speaking about this idea that, what if I'm not meant to be doing this training program? What if I'm meant to be doing this? What if I'm meant to be over here working with this particular way of working with energy? And I just looked at her and I said, my favorite example: you can sit and make macrame, my darling, with people if what you're doing is holding a vibration that is going to change people's consciousness because it is fearless, it is as close to infinite divine love as you can possibly access, then what you do with those people doesn't matter. You are not the cause of healing. You are simply allowing yourself to be a vessel for what is true and real and eternal, which is divine love. So when we get very caught up in worrying that we might make the wrong decision and train with the wrong person or do the wrong program or offer the wrong kind of modality, bring yourself back to that simple truth that there cannot be anything wrong about what you do, as long as what you do is returning people to love, is moving them closer to the truth of what they are. And this is spiritual activism. This is truly sacred service. You don't have to have a spiritual business in order to be a spiritual activist on the path of sacred service. When we complicate it, when we think it's about what brand do I have or what opt-in do I have or, who's buying my stuff, we've kind of missed the point. Now, of course, my whole bag is no more poor light workers, that it is entirely within our capacity to earn in accordance with the abundance of the infinite. But that doesn't mean that your service should only occur when someone is paying you money. And in fact, the women I train in the third level know very clearly that I am not training them to be intuitive readers who get paid when they're switched on and tuning in. They are training as contemporary mystics, and the mystics path is service. There's no, this time I am on my path of service and this time I'm not. Your whole life becomes accountable to that higher consciousness, that awakening consciousness, and that is spiritually radical. To be devoted with every breath to meeting your fear and releasing it to return to your true nature. That is spiritual activism. And we make it so complicated. We think it's about who we're studying with or what we're studying. And I wish only for you to know that the truth of it is that you simply have to make a choice for love in every moment, even when all the evidence might be suggesting to you that that choice for love is foolish. I read somewhere today that an innocent heart is a heart that cannot be hurt. And I believe that those words are so vital for us to understand that our return to love is a return to innocence, where we understand that the contents of 3D reality cannot harm us. We truly cannot be hurt by what is occurring in the dream. However, we can make a choice to maintain our innocent state of being in order to see God in everyone around us, even when, and you've heard me say this before, others cannot see God in us. So our capacity to serve is not based on external evidence. Our capacity to serve is not based on needing something in return. Our capacity to serve is always a spiritually radical act, and that is what came to me in this dream state, which was that, and I literally wrote the note, spiritual activism is being God. You know, it was just so intense, and what I wanted more than anything was to find a way to convey that to you, that truth that I don't have to know the perfect modality. There is no perfect modality. There is only the choice to hold a vibration that is higher and lighter than external evidence would suggest. And that is a choice I am free to make in every moment. And as I make that choice, because there is only one mind, I make that choice for all. I make that choice for those who cannot make the choice for themselves, because the contents of their dream reality is so terrifying or terrible that they cannot know. They're not yet ready to understand or inherit their true freedom. And yet we are able to make that choice today. And that is what it is to be spiritually radical, to be called to this path of spiritual activism, to be called to the path of sacred service. And if you've lost your way with that, if you've become confused about that, if you've got caught up in, oh, it must be this kind of offer or that kind of thing, then please put all of that worry down and allow yourself to recognize that the more that you line up with that path of spiritual activism, the more you make the choice for love in every moment, the infinite will rush in to support you. And whatever it is that you need to thrive in this 3D reality will be provided to you. Your commitment must always be to serve first and foremost, if this path calls you, and eventually all people are drawn to this path. And that's really what I wanted to say today, I guess, is that your modality doesn't matter, because the only true path of service is to hold a vibration that allows others to meet themselves as God. And when we get on board with that, we can then just go forward and have the most joyful experience of our lives. We do not have to worry about what it is that we do with people. It is simply that we allow ourselves to be the conduit, the vessel for that God consciousness to move through us and out into the world. So your service starts today. Your service starts right here and right now. Am I willing to put down my ego's need to be right? Am I willing to put down my fear and my perceived limits? Am I willing to put down this faulty belief that somehow I am broken and I need fixing? And I'm willing to meet myself as God so that others may do the same by being in my presence. It's my privilege to serve you. Have a beautiful day. Oh.